Hi there, welcome back. Now, it has not been a good 24 hours for Manchester United. They have been hit by injuries. Their new £50 million signing, Lenny Yoro, is out for up to 3 months. And you've got Rasmus Højlund, who was going to be out for 6 weeks. Marcus Rashford subbed off. He was hurt in a friendly last night. And also Anthony came off with an injury. Dan, I think you described it as not great earlier. But this is bad luck, isn't it? The season's not even started.
Absolutely. I'm not sure what déjà vu is in Dutch, but I'm sure Erik ten Hag will be saying that in Dutch because last season they had so many injuries across the squad. I mean, over 20 players were injured for Manchester United last season, and that led to all different combinations in defence. They couldn't get a settled front line either. You mentioned Anthony and Marcus Rashford as well. You know, it does have an impact on the team in terms of preparing for the new season. You know, on the left-hand side, they do have the likes of Jadon Sancho and Alejandro Garnacho as well, who had a really good season last year. On the right, Amad Diallo's come through in pre-season, looking really good. He scored again overnight in the friendly. But in terms of Lenny Yoro, I mean, that is huge because Manchester United don't have that settled combination. We've seen Rafa Varane leave the club in the summer, and I think Yoro maybe wouldn't have come in right away, but very much someone who would have come in despite Rafa Varane leaving the club. Lisandro Martinez, we don't know when he'll come back into the team after playing for Argentina in the Copa America. So I think Erik ten Hag will be quite frustrated that at this moment, he won't be knowing what his starting back four will be starting the season in a few weeks' time.
Yeah, do you think, Sam, that this Euro setback in particular will force them to go back into the market for another centre-back?
I don't think it would force them into the market. I think they're in the market anyway because of what happened last season. They don't want a situation where they're playing in all of these competitions and they're having to shuffle things around, and the quality that they have in their starting lineup, for example, isn't the same in their second string side. And I think that's something that we saw last season. Like you said, Martinez, you don't necessarily know when he's going to be back, even though he is fit at the moment. But Maguire as well, he did have periods off injured last year, and even though, you know, he's committed himself to United, and players like Shaw and Malacia don't seem to be going anywhere, there are issues in those areas in terms of staying fit throughout the season, and even, you know, their front line. So I think they're linked with players like De Ligt. Obviously, there's reports of him being excited about a move to the Premier League, but I think because of this, they might just say, okay, guys, we need to hurry this up just to make sure that the players are in place.
Let's keep it moving.
Yeah.
What areas do you think he needs to target this month elsewhere?
I'd say maybe one defender, one midfielder, one attacker. And it's hard to like kind of pinpoint an area because of the fact that we're saying, you know, these players can get injured. You have a centre-back or left-back, right-back. You know, Wan-Bissaka's linked with West Ham. You look at their midfield, Scott McTominay is linked with moves, Casemiro as well. But then their whole front line, Garnacho, like you said, had a great season, but there were periods where he kind of did seem burnt out because of the amount of games that he was playing. Diallo came back from injury. He's had a great pre-season. He's still very young, so do you want to put that much pressure on these young players? You want to get someone in to, you know, alleviate that a little bit. So I think they would want a player that maybe is versatile, and we've seen a lot of top clubs look for those versatile players that can possibly play centre-back, CDM, left-back, striker, left wing. So I think they should look and kind of target everywhere.
I think on that point as well, in terms of midfield as well, and you mentioned Scott McTominay potentially, he's been linked with Fulham quite a lot. They're still waiting to finish that Emile Smith-Rowe deal. We expect that to be announced very shortly. But in terms of the midfield, Manchester United have been quite clear this window that any incomings will be dependent on the outgoings. And I think they're going to be, in quite an interesting dilemma, because I think if McTominay was going to leave initially, it would have been maybe to reinforce the midfield and provide maybe a bit more cover for Casemiro or Bruno Fernandes. But now, with Lenny Yoro's injury, if they do get rid of McTominay or sell McTominay, they may have to look at reinforcing the centre-backs. And so I think for United, it's how do they jig the squad around to fit what they need around these injuries, which isn't going to be ideal. I think, I disagree slightly. I think in the forward lines, remember they have Jadon Sancho. I think we'll see how severe Anthony, and remember they have Joshua Zirkzee as well, who'll come in. So I think we'll see. It's very interesting. I think the problem for United and Erik ten Hag is, and we can see him there, looking very happy at the moment. Not sure he'll be happy now, but he doesn't know his best lineup going into the season. We still don't know what is the best Manchester United at the moment, even with the incomings we've seen so far. And I think that will be his big issue.
Seeing that classic transfers domino effect here, aren't we, with the McTominay thing especially. We mentioned Aaron Wan-Bissaka. So he looks to be going to West Ham, and that could see them bring in Bayern Munich's Nusra Mazraoui. What do you think he could add to United?
Hopefully not more injuries, but you know, last season he
Savage from you.
No, but
Savage Dan.
sorry, but he did miss 19 games last season for Bayern Munich through different injuries. So I think Manchester United will be hoping that, you know, it doesn't add to their defensive injuries that they had last season. The positives, of course, are the fact, you know, if Aaron Wan-Bissaka does leave, that he'll provide some backup in that position. Thiago Dalot, push Dalot as well. He's, of course, a very attacking fullback. But I think the fact is he can also play left back, which at the moment you mentioned, Luke Shaw will have an extended break after the Euros. He still needs to get back fit, playing football every week. Tyrell Malacia, he's been pictured at Carrington saying hi to his mate Joshua Zirkzee, which is great. But we still don't know what his fitness availability is. And actually, when you look at Manchester United right now at left back, they're playing a young 17-year-old Harry Amas, who's really impressed on pre-season. Again, he got an assist overnight for Ahmad. But again, I don't think Erik ten Hag thought at the end of last season, coming into the new one, his best solution at left back right at this moment would be a 17-year-old, no matter how much potential and how well he's playing in pre-season. So I think hopefully Mazraoui can provide that cover, but we'll wait and see. But again, it's not ideal preparation for Erik ten Hag with the Community Shield just next weekend.
I do think he would be covered though. So maybe his injury record wasn't great last season, but at the same time, Dalot was one of Manchester United's best players last season. You know, Luke Shaw is definitely going to be starting if he's fully fit, but if you have a player that's versatile, like I said, that can play right back and left back in Mazraoui, I think that would be a great signing for them. And it's a sign of intent, because I think his attacking output alongside his defensive output is probably a step up from Wan-Bissaka. We know Wan-Bissaka is one of the best 1v1 defenders, but at the same time, you know, at Bayern Munich, he was creating chance after chance for their strikers, and he was inverting. He was doing so much for that team that was kind of struggling in the Bundesliga. So yeah, I think he'll be a great signing.